In January 1986, the world lost one of its preeminent musicians when, at the relatively young age of 54, Indian classical sitarist Pandit Nikhil Banerjee died of a sudden heart attack. Though Nikhil Banerjee had often traveled, taught, and performed extensively, not only in India but as well in the West, he was largely unknown and unappreciated outside the rarefied environment of North Indian Hindustani classical music. A shy and humble person, he never sought the limelight. In fact, he shunned it in his quiet and dignified pursuit of spiritual transcendence through music.
His musicality, his depth, was far transcendent of just Indian music. It speaks to anybody who understands musical depth and understands the combination of virtuosity in the service of musical expression, not in the service of display.
And his approach was to exemplify a kind of purity of Indian tradition that was not going to be influenced by popular culture, would not pander to a crowd. And he never reached for that, never wanted that. Was very shy about recordings to begin with. And so it's really a miracle that he attracted the kind of audience that he did. And part of that was because Nikhil Da is a musician's musician. He was somebody that other musicians revered and listened to, and was not somebody that necessarily a popular crowd was going to get behind, because he didn't paint in broad brushstrokes. He painted with delicacy, and his strengths as a musician and his virtuosity grew out of gradual development.
Nikhil Banerjee was born in Calcutta, India on October 14, 1931, into a middle-class Hindu Brahmin family. His father, Jitendranath Banerjee, worked for the Survey of India as a draftsman and was also an accomplished amateur sitarist.
There was a general atmosphere of music, practicing, discussing, and a hobby of music in the house. But nobody expected my father to pick it up seriously, because in those days a middle-class Bengali Brahmin family did not take up music seriously. It could be a hobby. They patronized music but never take it up as a profession.
He was so perfect. It was almost inhuman to hear somebody play like that. You wondered, how can anyone do like this?
He was very bold. He was very bold because he was so brilliant and so much in practice that the things which are risky for normal musicians did not appear as risk for him. Very natural, because everything was so much in his command.
You are dealing with an artist who had the most profound depth of musical vision, and he combined it with the most astonishing technical facility on his instrument. I honestly believe that Nikhil was one of the most deep and profound musicians of all time, and not just of Hindustani music.
This is somebody who had a conception of music that was universal, and it was universal by being deep and true to its origin, and just beautifully realized. In the kind of emotional range that Nikhil Banerjee, with his one sitar, could bring to a musical composition and create beautiful thoughts with every line, every phrase of music.
Whenever Nikhil Da performed on the stage, he used to look on his instrument and concentrate so much that he didn't used to see the audience. He was so intense and introvert. That music was really great music because it was not affected by the audience and there was no gimmicks in it. It was pure and pristine Indian classical music which he played.
Among Nikhil Banerjee's successes, we're finding receptive audiences to Indian classical music in the West, in Europe, and especially in the United States, where the introduction of Indian classical music was first pioneered in the 1950s by Ali Akbar Khan and Ravi Shankar. In Berkeley, California, Nikhil Banerjee taught and performed for a number of years as part of programs supported by the American Society for Eastern Arts, the Center for World Music, Musical Traditions, and the Ali Akbar College of Music.
There was some quality in Nikhil's performance and in his seriousness that spoke very directly to a Western audience. Nikhil's depth, his virtuosity, and his presence, I think, made him powerful to anyone in the West who got to see him perform.
On January 27, 1986, 2 days after Nikhil Banerjee performed at the prestigious Dover Lane Music Conference in Calcutta, the Banerjee family was at home, preparing to celebrate the 6th birthday of their youngest daughter, Devdata, when Nikhil Banerjee suddenly collapsed with a fatal heart attack.
All the musicians were really shocked, and I couldn't believe that he's no more. It was really a very sad day, sad news, because he left this world so early, at very young age. I tell you, if he was alive, it would have been a different scenario of Indian classical music, that's for sure.
It was a big loss that won't be filled. It's like a vacuum afterwards. You know, when somebody that good goes away, it leaves you with a lot of questions. Very rarely such musicians are born, and his music will be remembered always.
One always wants to know, well, just how far can an artist go? You know, how deep, you know, what new wonders can they reveal? And I know that his rigor, he would never have stopped inquiring about what his music could do. I think there are some artists who find a place that's comfortable and then don't feel compelled to go further. And he wasn't that kind of person. He would have gone further forever.
Without music, he couldn't survive. He couldn't live. Perhaps an artist like Nikhil never had that satisfaction there is always a crave for achieving more. He said, no, I have to yet achieve more. That sort of crave was always in his mind.